At this time, we're going to have an address by Sister Laura's, one of her nephews, Dr. Phillip O'Connor. Can we just give him a warm welcome?
Our officiating minister, Brother Wallace, Martin, R.I.P., Rupert, Vincent, immediate family members, extended family members, friends and family, and online audience. Bishops, ministers and deacons here present, and friends. First, I want to just add my quote of sincere condolences. It is with a deep sense of sadness that we are here gathered, and yet with a sense of joy to know that Auntie Laura is in a better place, and we can rejoice today, although we understand in some cases the emotions may be raw. I'm Phillip O'Connor, and I would just like to thank very much the family for inviting me to share a word with you today. It is a great honor, and I do not take it lightly. I'm deeply humbled by this fact, and I just want to thank you all so kindly for being here. And as we have shared the lovely memories of Auntie Laura, for me, I can reiterate the essence of her generosity. On behalf of Rona and the O'Connor's family, I know some are watching in America, in Jamaica, and elsewhere, so I also speak on their behalf as well. I remember when as a little boy, just maybe about 12 or so, when Auntie Laura, I was born here in England, of course, but I didn't have the pleasure of not knowing barrel from drum. But I know the difference between the two. So I was born here but was raised in Jamaica. And I remember when Auntie Laura came to Jamaica for the first time that I've met her. I was probably about 12 thereabout. So Martin and Rupert came along, and Vincent, you were in the old age of youth. And that was very special. But one of the things that really stood out for me then from Auntie Laura was her teaching us this song. And I really had to look it up because it ties in so well with what I have to say today. And it was, in the heart of London city, mid the dwelling of the poor, these bright golden words were uttered, I have Christ, what want I more? By a sick and dying woman stretched upon a garret floor, having not one earthly comfort, I have Christ, what want I more? Look away from earth's attraction, all earth's joy will soon be o'er. Rest not till your heart exclaimeth, I have Christ, what want I more? And as I reflect today on the few thoughts I'm going to share, how fitting are those words today? As I reflect on three words briefly: possessions, perspectives, and priorities. The place of earthly possessions and what our perspective should be on life, but also what our priorities ought to be in view of the fact that we too shall pass this way. And I want to share with you briefly from a passage to be found in St. Luke's Gospel, chapter 12, and I'll just read quickly verse 12 to 20. And it reads thus: Someone in the crowd said to Jesus, Teacher, tell my brother to divide the inheritance with me. Jesus answered, Man, who appointed you or me a judge and an arbiter between you? Then he said unto them, Watch out, be on your guard against all kinds of greed. Life does not consist in the abundance of things a man possesseth. And he told them this parable: The ground of a certain rich man yieldeth an abundant harvest. He thought to himself, What shall I do? I have no place to store my crops. Then he said, This is what I will do. I will tear down my barn and build bigger barns, and there I will store the surplus grain. And I will say to myself, Self, you have plenty of grains laid up for many years. Take life easy, eat, drink, and be merry. But God said to him, You fool, this very night your life will be demanded of you. then who will have what you have prepared for yourself? And I want to just share very quickly just 5 points I've pulled out from that passage that I want to share. Because although we're here gathered in honor of Auntie Laura, but the truth is that this Thanksgiving service is really for us, the living. And I want to share a few words that hopefully will challenge our hearts as we share in these few words. And the first thought I want to share is, one, that we should be careful of narrow focus and selfish motives. Be careful of a narrow focus and selfish motive. This rich man, the story is told of this rich fool. And it was told by Jesus because he was there addressing his disciples on a whole range of themes. And as he was addressing these disciples on a whole range of themes, he was unceremoniously interrupted by a man who came to him asking that the inheritance be divided between his brother and himself. Now, of course, the inheritance was already divided because in those days, the older brother would receive 2/3 of the inheritance. So what do you mean divide the inheritance? It's already divided. But chances are, in his mind, he wanted it to be divided more equitable. But Jesus read into his motives and told him a parable. The essence of it was that a man's life consisteth not in the abundance of things which one possesseth. And he told him the story of the rich fool. And in this story, this man worked very hard. No doubt he sacrificed. And he was one that no doubt believed in the essence of meritocracy, whereby one works hard and one is able to pull oneself up by the bootstrap and to achieve great things, provided one puts in place all the necessary things to do well in life. This gentleman worked hard. He had a harvest. He had a field of grain, and he prospered. But in the midst of all of that, we find that in verses 17 to 19, something very strange happened. Because instead of looking outward as to how he could use the abundance of that which was produced, he was looking inwardly. And he declared thus, "What shall I do? What shall I do? I have no place to store my crops." Then said he, "This is what I will do. I will tear down my barn, and I will say to myself." And in the space of just 2 verses, we have "I, me, myself" nearly 11 times. And it's a sad thing when all we can see in life is "I, me, myself." And it's a good thing to work hard. Most of us, we work hard, overtime, under time, beside the time. We do janitorial tasks. We extend ourselves to achieve great things and to accomplish great things, especially for us who have come here from the Caribbean and elsewhere, who have sacrificed greatly. We have humbled ourselves. We have stooped to conquer. But I tell you this, that in the midst of all of that, we put life in perspective and realize that it's not all about "I, me, myself." For the Bible declares that a man's life consisteth not in the abundance of things which he possesseth. So what gives meaning and purpose and satisfaction in life? It's more than things. The Bible declares in 1 Corinthians 15 verse 19 that if it is in this life only we have hope, we will be as men most miserable. But there's got to be more to life than the acquisition and the accumulation of things. Point number 2. So the first point, be careful of a narrow focus and selfish motive. Number 2, we are caretakers of all things and owners of absolutely nothing. The Bible declares in St. Luke 19 verse 13 that we should occupy till he comes. In other words, keep what God has entrusted to us. Do business, handle, oversee, regulate, and manage. We are good stewards of all things, but owners of absolutely nothing. Avoid being selfish, therefore. He was selfish, he was narrow, he was misguided in his motives, because we take absolutely nothing with us when we depart. This awareness guides our perspective, our perceptions of possession, and our priorities. The Bible declares that ye are not your own. You don't even own your own life. But godliness with contentment, the Bible continues, is great gain. For we brought nothing into the world, and we certainly can take nothing out of it. But if we have food and clothing, we will be content with that. In 1 Timothy 6, verses 6 to 8. Enjoy, therefore, the fruit of your labor, your hard-earned labor, enjoy, but you maintain a healthy perception on the place of things. Point number 3, guard against misplaced priorities and wrong focus. Guard against misplaced priorities and wrong focus. We can certainly do things right, but doing things right doesn't mean we're necessarily doing the right thing. Because we can be sincere, but sincerely wrong. This gentleman was sincere. He worked hard, no doubt, morally, legally. And he achieved great things, as I said before, through meritocracy. He worked hard. He earned the success he had in life, as most of us will work very hard. And we deserve the success that we have earned. But I tell you this, that we understand the place of things, because we can be sincere, but sincerely wrong. We understand the place of things in verse 15, that a man's life consisteth not in the abundance of things. So guard, Jesus warns this gentleman, be on your guard against all kinds of greed. For a man's life consisteth not in the abundance of possessions. This gentleman was presumptive because he declared, I will tear down my barns, and I will build bigger barns. And I will say to myself, soul, eat, drink, be merry, and enjoy the fruit of your labor, for you have many years to enjoy this. Who told you that? You're being presumptive and being very presumptuous on the grace of God that you're going to be around. The Bible says it is good to set plans and have goals, but God has the final word. In James 4 verse 15, we read these words that we should always say, if the Lord will. And you dare not say, I'm going to build bigger barns. You dare not say, I'm going to tear down this and invest for the future. I'm going to put money in the stock market. I'm going to invest in property and do all these things without first saying, if the Lord tarries. Because you don't own your life. So whatever you plan and you declare, and certainly we should plan, because the Bible declares that what manner of man is he that is going to first build a house and not sit down first and count the cost. Therefore in life, we count the cost. But in all that we do, we declare, if the Lord tarries, because we are not our own. So guard against misplaced priorities. And the Bible declares that if blessings increase, we should set not our heart upon it. Because, of course, in Psalm 10:22, it declares that the blessings of the Lord maketh rich, and adds no sorrow to it. So when the Lord blesses you, you have a perspective on the blessings. You don't worship things, but you know the place of things in your life. May I move on to the next point, number 4. You are to pursue the spiritual and the eternal over the temporal, the physical, and the material. I repeat, spend your life pursuing the spiritual, the eternal over the temporal, the physical, and the material. As mentioned before, the young man, he did well in his life, but his focus was narrow. He was misguided. I was just a child when I used to hang around older folks, because when my brothers and others were having cookout and playing, I was sitting at the feet of elderly people. I remember Brother Lawyer very well. He was probably in his 80s when, as a teenager, I sat at his feet. One of his wise sayings I remember to date, and he spoke to me thus: we squander health in search of wealth. We scheme and toil and save, then squander wealth in search of health. We live and boast of what we own. We die and only get a stone. Things do not satisfy. The book of Proverbs and Ecclesiastics go in great detail to explain and expound that vanity of vanity, saith the preacher. That all is vanity. And all that we spend our life chasing, meaningless at the end of it, because we take absolutely nothing with us. For what shall it profit a man to gain the whole world and to lose his own soul? In Mark 8, verse 34. So physical food and earthly possession and pleasures do not satisfy the longing of the soul. So this gentleman was certainly misguided when he declared, what shall I do? I shall pull down my barn and I shall build bigger ones and do all that kind of things. And he said, I will say to my soul, soul, sit at ease and eat, drink, be merry. Now, If the dictionary defines the soul as the spiritual essence, the mind, the will, the soul, the emotion, and that spiritual element that goes back to God, how can food satisfy soul? Peradventure, it should have said, body, eat, drink, and be merry. But you can't use food and the physical to satisfy the spiritual. Henceforth was he greatly misguided in his perception. Totally misguided. So maintain a healthy perspective and balance in life between the physical and the spiritual. Some people are so spiritual, they have no earthly use. Maintain a healthy perspective. Balance the insatiable quest for things, that desire within us for things. And we should have a healthy perception and perspective as regarding things, because we should be ambitious. We should aim for the greatest heights. The heights by great men, reached and kept, were not attained by sudden flight, but they, whilst their companions slept, were upward, toiling through the night. We should strive for excellence, but we balance that insatiable quest with the reality of the fact that we take absolutely nothing with us when we go. When the question was asked the women of the sepulchre, why seek ye the living among the dead? How oft we seek the living among the dead? Right thing, wrong place. Right thing, wrong focus. You're looking for meaning, purpose, happiness, and fulfillment, but you're looking to things. The right thing of meaning, purpose, and fulfillment in life, but not in things. Not in people, not in possession, but in Christ. For vanity of vanity, said the preacher, all is vanity, and pleasures and powers and privilege and possessions we seek. But for what? For we take nothing with us. Someone says, I've never seen a U-Haul truck behind the casket, going to the crematorium or the burial. You take nothing with us. Finally, we have an appointment with death that cannot be changed. We have an appointment with death. It is written in Hebrews 9:27. It is appointed unto man once to die, and after this comes the judgment. You can call your GP, you can call your optician, you can call your dentist and cancel or reschedule your appointment. But I tell you this, that you have an appointment with death that cannot be changed. Death is the common denominator that levels all humanity. I baffle sometimes at the stupidity of people who think they are better than others. We die. We take nothing with us. How dare anyone look at anyone because of power, prestige, social class, or worse, or race? Death, the eternal leveler that brings us to the reality of our frail humanity and our own mortality. It is not what you take when you leave the world behind you. It's what you leave behind you when you go. And I borrow those words from Randy Travis in his song, 3 Wooden Crosses. It is not what you take when you leave the world behind you. It is what you leave behind you when you go. What are you leaving when you go? In conclusion, I've shared 5 points with you. Namely, be careful of narrow focus and selfish motives, since we are caretakers or stewards of all things and owners of nothing. Henceforth, guard against misplaced priorities and wrong focus. Instead, pursue the spiritual and the eternal over the physical, temporal, and material, because we have an appointment with death that cannot be changed. Precious in the sight of the Lord is the death of his saints in Psalm 116, verse 15. And blessed are the dead who die in the Lord. From now on, saith the Spirit, that they shall rest from their labor, and their works shall follow them. For in 2 Timothy 4, verses 7 and 8, it is written thus, For I have fought a good fight. I've finished my course, and I have kept the faith, and henceforth is laid up for me a crown of righteousness, with the Lord, the righteous judge, shall give to me, and not only to me, but all those who love his appearance. May God bless you in Jesus' name.
powerful word. We just bless the Lord for such a powerful word and a very timely word. Bless the Lord.
Not aside for the blessings of rest in the sweet by and by. We shall meet on the beautiful shore in the sweet by and by. We shall meet on the beautiful shore.